The vast expanse of space was a silent witness to countless conquests. Among the most feared of these conquerors were the Draconians, a race that epitomized power and domination. Their ships, sharp and jagged like the claws of their creators, were a testament to their ruthless efficiency. Each fleet was a mobile fortress, capable of obliterating entire worlds. From the bridge of the flagship Voracious Fang, General Zarath Crash gazed out at the blue-green world suspended in the void. Its serene appearance belied the turmoil it was about to experience. The Draconians had never encountered a planet they couldn't subjugate, and Earth seemed like it would be no exception. Shaft, shaft, shaft. It's almost peaceful, Zarath murmured, his voice a low rumble. His golden eyes narrowed as he scrutinized the planet. The phrase felt wrong as soon as it left his mouth. There was something unsettling about the tranquility of this world. 1,000 panics have been here. 1,000 people have suffered, and nobody has ever come back. The Voracious Fang drifted closer, flanked by an armada of smaller ships. Each vessel bristled with weapons, their surfaces shimmering with shields powered by advanced energy cores. The fleet was a moving testament to the Draconians' supremacy. Lieutenant Katero approached, her scales glinting under the dim red lights of the bridge. She carried a tablet displaying real-time data from the fleet's scanners. General, initial scans confirm no significant orbital defenses. Their satellites are primitive, used primarily for communication and observation. No sign of a planetary defense grid or spacefaring technology. Zarath grunted. A backwater world, then. Yet, he gestured toward the holographic display projecting Earth's image. Explain this. Katero followed his gaze to the readouts overlaying the planet. Strange energy signatures radiated from specific points across its surface. The patterns were erratic, almost alive, as though the planet itself pulsed with latent power. Unusual, General, Katero admitted. The energy is unlike anything in our database. It doesn't correspond to known sources. No nuclear emissions, no thermal spikes. It's as if it's coming from within the planet itself. Zarath turned, his talons clicking against the metallic floor as he moved toward the command console. Within? His voice was sharp, skeptical. You're suggesting the planet itself is generating this energy? Katero hesitated. I can't confirm, General, but it's concentrated in specific regions, deep underground. Whatever it is, it's not natural. Zarath's eyes gleamed with intrigue. He'd been a soldier long enough to recognize the difference between weakness and hidden strength. Something about this world unsettled him. This planet has secrets, Zarath said, his tone resolute. Secrets that could prove valuable. Or dangerous. Prepare the probes. I want every inch of this world mapped and analyzed. Hours later, the first wave of Draconian probes descended through Earth's atmosphere. Designed to be undetectable by primitive technologies, the sleek devices scattered across the globe, their sensors penetrating deep into the planet's crust. From orbit, Zarath monitored their progress. Holographic displays lit up with streams of data showing terrain maps, resource deposits, and traces of human activity. Primitive creatures, Zarath muttered, as he watched live feeds from the probes. The images showed sprawling cities, industrial zones, and rural expanses. The humans themselves were small, fragile things, oblivious to the technological titan now hovering above their skies. But amidst the mundane, there were anomalies. One probe, dispatched to a remote mountain range, transmitted footage of a cavern glowing with faint blue light. Another detected a massive underground structure in the heart of a dense jungle. The readings defied explanation. General, Katero called, urgency in her voice. Probe 172 has vanished. Zarath's head snapped toward her, Vanished? The feed went dark, Cather explained. No damage, no interference. It simply ceased transmission. Zareth's talons tapped against the console. Send another probe to the same location. I want answers. A second probe was dispatched, this one armed with enhanced shielding and weapons. As it approached the coordinates of its predecessor, the feed displayed a vast, empty expanse of desert. Nothing appeared out of the ordinary. And then, without warning, the feed cut out. Zareth's grip tightened on the console. What in the void is happening down there? The next day, the situation escalated. More probes began to vanish. Silent, inexplicable disappearances that defied all logic. Every time the Draconians sent another, the result was the same. And when the probes then came for the next time, everything gave out on the document. Kythera approached Zarath, her expression grim. General? The fleet scientists believe the anomalies are tied to the planet's energy signatures. Whatever is beneath the surface is actively interfering with our technology. Zarath's patience wore thin. Enough games, he snarled. Prepare a landing party. If the planet wants to hide its secrets, we'll rip them from its core. Mind you get the first ride, said Pycelle. He was careful not to turn his voice up. The other Sexons held their breath. The landing craft cut through Earth's atmosphere like a knife, its hull glowing red-hot as it pierced the stratosphere. Zara himself led the expedition, flanked by elite Draconian warriors clad in impenetrable armor. Their mission was clear: investigate the anomalies, locate the source, and neutralize any threats. They touched down in the desert where the first probe had disappeared. The air was dry and still, the horizon stretching endlessly under a harsh sun. To human eyes, the scene would have seemed desolate, but to Zareth, it felt alive. Spread out, he commanded, his voice sharp. Scan for any signs of interference. The Draconians fanned out, their scanners sweeping the area. Minutes passed, and the desert remained eerily silent. And then, the ground trembled. Movement! One of the soldiers shouted. Zareth turned just in time to see the sand shift beneath their feet. A massive structure began to rise from the earth. A monolithic tower of black stone etched with glowing blue runes. The air crackled with energy as the tower emitted a low hum, resonating deep within Zareth's chest. Zareth sheltered him. What is this? Kythera whispered, her voice uncharacteristically shaken. Zareth's eyes narrowed. An invitation or a warning? Ah. The man's eyes flickered towards him. The Draconians entered the tower cautiously, their weapons drawn. Inside, the air was cool and dense, the walls covered in the same glowing runes. The symbols seemed to pulse in response to their presence, as if the tower itself was alive. As they ventured deeper, the hum grew louder, resonating like a heartbeat. Zarath's instincts screamed at him to retreat, but his pride refused to let him back down. He was a general of the Draconian Empire. No force in the galaxy could intimidate him. They reached the heart of the tower, a vast chamber dominated by a massive crystalline structure that pulsed with an otherworldly light. The air was thick with energy, almost suffocating. General, this is... Kythera began, but she never finished her sentence. The light from the crystal intensified, flooding the chamber. Zareth shielded his eyes as a deafening sound filled the air, a sound that was not a sound, but a vibration that reached deep into his mind. And then, silence. When Zareth opened his eyes, the crystal was gone. The chamber was empty. His soldiers were gone. Only he and Kythera remained, standing in stunned silence. What just happened? Kythera asked, her voice trembling. Zareth had no answer. For the first time in his life, he felt fear. As the voracious fang hovered above Earth, the crew received a transmission from Zerath. His voice was calm, but beneath it was an edge of something unfamiliar. "Pull back," he ordered. "This planet is not what we thought. It's—" He paused, as if searching for the right word. "Alive." The crew obeyed, but as the fleet began to ascend, the anomalies intensified. Energy beams erupted from the planet's surface, striking the ships with unerring precision. One by one, the vessels faltered, their shields collapsing under the assault. On board the voracious Fang, Zerath watched in horror as his fleet disintegrated. The once mighty armada was reduced to nothing but silence. Edge was dying, and the stars waited for their due. And then, just as suddenly as it had begun, the attack ceased. The galaxy would never hear from the Draconian fleet again. The Draconian fleet, once a seamless machine of domination, now hovered in a state of unease above Earth. The planet's mysteries had begun to erode the confidence of even the most hardened warriors. Probes vanishing without explanation, anomalous energy signatures disrupting their technology. These were problems the Draconians were unaccustomed to facing. On board the flagship Voracious Fang, General Zerath Krosh stood at the center of the bridge. His golden eyes fixated on the holographic projection of Earth, its swirling clouds and vast oceans, an infuriatingly serene mask for what he suspected lay beneath. "This planet defies understanding," Zerath growled, his voice low and menacing. "Yet I will not allow a mere backwater world to challenge the might of the Draconian Empire." Behind him, Lieutenant Cathera approached, her scaled features tight with apprehension. "General, the energy signatures are intensifying. Our scientists believe the anomalies may be a form of active defense, one that adapts to our presence." Zerath turned to face her, his taloned hand gripping the edge of the console. The jungle expedition, a sleek landing craft, descended into the heart of the Amazon rainforest, its thrusters kicking up a storm of leaves and debris. The team of elite Draconian soldiers disembarked, their armor gleaming under the filtered sunlight. Each warrior carried advanced weaponry, designed to pierce the defenses of even the most formidable adversaries. The jungle was alive with sound, chirping insects, distant animal calls, and the rustle of foliage. But beneath the surface cacophony was an unnatural stillness, as though the jungle itself was watching. Captain Vore, leader of the expedition, activated his visor's thermal scanner. "Spread out," he commanded. "Scans indicate the anomaly is 2 clicks east." The team moved in a tight formation, their movements precise and calculated. As they approached the coordinates, the vegetation grew denser, the air heavier. Strange plants with bioluminescent tendrils seemed to pulse faintly, reacting to their presence. "Sir, these readings are off the charts," one soldier reported, holding up a handheld scanner. "The energy signature is concentrated directly below us." Roy Vore nodded and gestured for the team to halt. "Prepare the drill," he ordered. A massive cylindrical device was deployed, its tip glowing with plasma energy. As the drill began to bore into the earth, the ground trembled. The jungle's sounds ceased entirely, replaced by an oppressive silence. Then it happened. A blinding beam of light erupted from the ground, engulfing the drill and the soldiers nearest to it. Their screams were brief, cut off as their forms dissolved into particles of light. The remaining soldiers scrambled for cover, their weapons drawn. "What is this?" Vore roared, firing his plasma rifle at the source of the beam. The energy bolt disappeared into the light, absorbed without a trace. The ground beneath them shifted, and from the earth emerged a massive structure. Its surface was a dark, shimmering metal etched with glowing blue runes. The air crackled with an electric charge as the structure pulsed with life. Roar's communicator crackled to life. "Captain, report." Zareth's voice demanded. "General, we've encountered something," Revor replied, his voice unsteady. "It's not human. It's—" The transmission cut off. The Guardians awaken. Deep beneath Earth's surface, the Guardians stirred. Valeth, the lead Guardian, projected its form into the chamber, a towering humanoid figure composed entirely of luminous energy. It stood before an assembly of its kin, each glowing with a unique hue. "The invaders persist," Valeth said, its voice resonating like a chord struck on an impossibly vast instrument. "Their ignorance endangers the balance." Another Guardian, smaller but no less radiant, responded. "They seek to unravel what must remain hidden. Shall we eliminate them? What? Their pride?" Valeth's light pulsed rhythmically as it considered. "Not yet. Their actions reveal desperation. They sense the truth but cannot grasp it. Let us observe further. If they threaten the core, we will act decisively." The fleet's desperation. Back on the voracious Fang, the loss of the jungle expedition sent ripples of unease through the crew. Zareth paced the bridge, his frustration barely contained. "Another team lost," Katera reported grimly. "No survivors, no debris. It's as if they were erased from existence." Zara slammed his fist against the console, the impact leaving a dent in the metal. "Enough of these games," he roared. "If this planet wants a war, we will give it one. Prepare the orbital cannons. We'll raze these anomalies to the ground." Major hesitated. "General, if I may, we still don't understand what we're dealing with. These energy signatures could be—" "Do not question me," Zareth snapped, his voice a thunderous growl. "Prepare the cannons." The orbital strike. High above Earth, the Draconian fleet's massive cannons powered up, their energy cores glowing with lethal intent. Targeting data streamed into the command center, pinpointing the locations of the anomalies. From the bridge of the voracious Fang, Zareth watched as the first cannon fired. A blinding beam of energy lanced through the atmosphere, striking one of the jungle anomalies. For a moment, there was silence. Then, the Earth itself seemed to roar in defiance. The beam dissipated, absorbed by an invisible force. Moments later, a counterattack erupted from the planet's surface. The silence of the planet's mind fell as the background transitioned, immersible. Beams of pure energy shot upward, striking the fleet with unerring accuracy. Ships that had withstood countless battles crumbled under the assault. One by one, the Draconian vessels were obliterated, their wreckage consumed by the same light that had taken their probes and soldiers. On the voracious Fang, alarms blared as the ship's shields buckled under the relentless barrage. Zareth gripped the console, his mind racing. "This is impossible," he roared. "No planet has this kind of power." Cathera, her voice trembling, whispered, "It's not the planet, General. It's something within it, something ancient." The final moments. As the fleet disintegrated around him, Zareth made a desperate decision. "Initiate retreat protocols," he commanded. "All remaining vessels, fall back to the edge of the system." But the Guardians had no intention of letting the invaders escape. The energy beams intensified, targeting the fleeing ships with devastating precision. The voracious Fang shuddered as its engines failed, its systems overwhelmed. In the chaos, Zareth turned to Katera. "If we survive this, the Empire must know. This planet is no ordinary world. It's a nexus, a place of unimaginable power." Katera nodded, her expression grim. "But will they believe us, General?" he asked. Before Zeroth could respond, the final beam struck. The voracious fang was engulfed in light, its fate sealed. Silence. When the energy beams ceased, the night sky above Earth was empty once more. No debris, no wreckage, no trace of the once mighty Draconian fleet remained. Deep within the planet, the Guardians returned to their slumber. The invaders had been dealt with, and the balance preserved. The Nucleod held plans to work with the planet Guardians, but the echoes of their actions would reverberate across the galaxy. The galaxy's silence grew deafening in the wake of the Draconian fleet's disappearance. Across the universe, countless empires and alliances whispered rumors of Earth's defenses. But on the planet itself, life went on as though nothing had transpired. Earth's skies were clear, its ecosystems undisturbed, and its people blissfully unaware of the cosmic drama that had unfolded above their heads. Yet, beneath the surface, in hidden chambers where light had never naturally touched, the Guardians convened. They were not creatures of flesh and blood, but entities of pure energy and thought, older than the concept of time itself. They existed to protect what they referred to as the core, a nexus of unimaginable power buried deep within the Earth's mantle. For millennia, they had been dormant, stirring only when cosmic threats approached. The Draconians had been the most aggressive invaders yet, but their annihilation came with an unforeseen consequence. The galaxy had noticed, and now Earth faced a far graver danger than a single fleet: the ripples of destruction. Aboard the Harbinger, the flagship of the Titanian Alliance, Supreme Commander Galeth Voss stared at the holographic replay of the Draconian fleet's obliteration. The transmission was brief, grainy footage captured by a long-range scout drone, but it was enough to shake even the most hardened warriors of the Alliance. The Draconians were wiped out within hours, Voss said, his voice cold and precise. He stood tall, his imposing figure framed by the polished steel walls of the command chamber. Not a single ship escaped. No wreckage was left behind. Whatever defenses this Earth possesses, they are unlike anything we've encountered. A murmur rippled through the gathered officers and strategists. The Titanian Alliance, a coalition of dozens of species, prided itself on its advanced technology and military might. Yet the obliteration of the Draconians had exposed a vulnerability they could not ignore. "Do we believe this to be the work of a sentient species?" asked Admiral Krenna, her elongated features contorted in thought. "It doesn't matter," Voss replied. "Sentient or not, Earth is a threat. If the core falls into the wrong hands, it could destabilize the entire galaxy. We cannot allow such power to remain unchecked." "What's our course of action?" another officer asked. Voss's gaze hardened. "We will do what the Draconians could not. We will neutralize Earth and secure the core. This time, we come prepared." Earth's awareness. On Earth, humanity remained unaware of the galactic tensions swirling around their planet. But not all life on Earth was oblivious. Deep in the shadows of the Himalayan mountains, an ancient order known as the Sentinels was stirring. The Sentinels were human in appearance, but they were far from ordinary. Descended from an ancient line of guardians, chosen by the core itself, they were tasked with maintaining balance and secrecy. Their leader, Alina Vera, stood at the edge of a glacial cave, her sharp eyes scanning the horizon. "They're coming," she murmured, her voice barely audible over the howling wind. Behind her, a group of sentinels emerged from the shadows, their movements fluid and precise. One of them, a younger man named Iran, stepped forward. "The Draconians were only the beginning, weren't they?" Alina nodded. "The core's energy is like a beacon. The more it's used, the more attention it attracts. The galaxy is awake now. They'll send others, stronger and smarter than the last." "Can we stop them?" Iran asked. Alina's gaze shifted to the sky, where faint streaks of light hinted at incoming vessels. That depends on whether humanity is ready to face the truth. The Titanian assault. The Titanian fleet arrived in Earth's orbit with unmatched precision. Thousands of ships formed an impenetrable wall of metal and energy, their configurations designed for maximum efficiency. Unlike the Draconians, the Titanians relied on strategy and calculated precision. On the Harbinger, Voss observed Earth through the observation deck. It was a deceptively tranquil sight, a world that seemed vulnerable and unprepared. "Deploy the energy dampeners," he ordered. Across the fleet, specialized devices were activated, sending pulses of destabilizing energy toward Earth. The goal was simple: suppress the core's defenses before they could activate. At first, the dampeners seemed to work. The strange energy signatures detected by the Draconians began to diminish, and Earth's anomalies fell silent. "Phase 1 complete," Krenna reported. "Good," Voss said. "Now, begin the descent." The Guardians respond. Deep within the Earth, the Guardians stirred again. The dampeners were unlike anything they had encountered before, and for the first time, their connection to the core wavered. Valith's light dimmed as it addressed the assembly. "They have learned. The invaders suppress the core's energy. If this continues, we will lose our ability to protect it." Another Guardian, its form of vibrant red, responded, "Then we must act directly. We cannot allow them to reach the core." Valith hesitated. "Direct action risks destabilization. The core's power is not meant to be wielded recklessly. And if the invaders take it?" The Red Guardian countered. Valith's glow intensified. "Then Earth, and perhaps the galaxy, will burn." Humanity's awakening. As the Titanian forces began landing on Earth, humanity's oblivion was finally shattered. In cities across the globe, strange metallic crafts descended from the skies, their sheer size dwarfing any human-made structure. Panic spread like wildfire as people fled, their fear compounded by the realization that these invaders were far beyond anything their militaries could combat. In the chaos, the Sentinels moved swiftly. Alina led her team through the streets of Tokyo, where one of the Titanian landing crafts had deployed. "We can't let them establish a foothold," Alina said, her voice firm. Aaron glanced at the massive craft towering above them. "And how exactly do we stop that thing?" Alina smirked. "We have something they don't." She placed her hand on a small device strapped to her wrist. It glowed faintly as she activated it, sending a signal deep into the Earth. Moments later, the ground trembled, and a massive crystalline structure erupted from the ground, its surface shimmering with blue light. The Titanian craft fired at the structure, but the energy blasts were absorbed effortlessly. The crystal pulsed once, sending a wave of energy that obliterated the craft in an instant. Aaron stared in awe. "That was the core?" "Just a fraction of its power," Alina replied. "But it won't be enough. We need to activate the Guardians fully." The final stand. The Guardians emerged, their forms towering above the human cities. To the Titanians, they were beings of incomprehensible power, their every movement defying the laws of physics. The battle that ensued was unlike anything Earth had ever seen. The Titanians deployed advanced weaponry and tactics, but the Guardians adapted swiftly, countering each move with devastating precision. Valith faced off against the Harbinger, its energy form dwarfing the Titanian flagship. Voss watched in awe and fury as the Guardian absorbed the ship's most powerful weaponry without flinching. "This is not a battle we can win," Krenna said, her voice tinged with fear. Voss clenched his fists. "We cannot retreat. If we fail here, the core's power will remain unchecked. Your father was a doctor of the church. and one of the most scientific minds in the system. As the battle raged, Alina and her sentinels reached the central guardian chamber beneath the Himalayas. "Baelith," Alina said, addressing the lead guardian, "the core must be sealed. It's the only way to stop them." Baelith walked up to her and touched her arm. Baelith's form flickered. "Sealing the core will render Earth defenseless for millennia. Are you prepared for that risk?" Alina nodded. "If we don't, the galaxy will never stop coming." The core sealed. With the Sentinel's guidance, the Guardians initiated the sealing process. The core's energy began to retract, its power folding inward. The ground shook violently as massive crystalline structures emerged across the planet, creating an impenetrable barrier. The Titanian fleet, unable to penetrate the barrier, was forced to retreat. Voss watched in frustration as the remnants of his forces withdrew. "This isn't over," he vowed. Aftermath. As the dust settled, Earth returned to a fragile calm. The Guardians retreated into the core's depths, their task complete. Humanity, now aware of its role in the greater galaxy, faced an uncertain future. Alina stood atop a mountain, gazing at the horizon. "They'll come again," she said softly. Iran stepped beside her. "And we'll be ready."